The rain hammered the roof of the old pickup like God's own judgment, drowning out the low growl of the engine as I pulled into the gravel drive of my sister's farmhouse in rural Ohio. I'd come back from the city lights of Columbus, chasing ghosts of what-ifs, only to find Liam, my nephew, all grown up at 22, standing there in the downpour, his soaked t-shirt clinging to the lean lines of his chest like a second skin. "Uncle Zach," he said, his voice slicing through the storm sharper than any knife. "Who the hell is that guy in your truck?" I froze, my hands still on the gearshift, the scent of cheap motel soap and regret thick in the cab. The man beside me, some nameless drifter I'd picked up at a dive bar 2 hours back, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between us like a cornered animal. Liam's face, pale and streaked with rain, twisted into something raw, a cocktail of confusion and fury that hit me harder than the thunderclap rattling the windows. He slammed his fist against the hood, the metal buckling under the force, and in that split second, I saw it all unravel. The family secrets I'd buried under layers of flannel and farm work, the ache I'd nursed since coming out to no one but the bottle. "Get out!" Liam snarled at the stranger, who scrambled away without a word, vanishing into the sheets of rain like a bad dream. And just like that, the dam broke. My nephew, the kid I'd bounced on my knee, was staring me down like I'd stolen his innocence, not realizing he was about to hand me his own. File 1. The screen door banged shut behind me as I trudged into the kitchen, the linoleum sticky under my boots from years of spilled coffee and unspoken grudges. Mom, well, Aunt Clara to Liam, but she'd raised me after my folks split, was at the stove, stirring a pot of chili that smelled like home and heartache, the kind that simmers low and burns your throat going down. "Zachary, honey, you're early," she said without turning, her voice that soft southern lilt she'd never shaken from her Georgia roots, even after 30 years in the Buckeye State. "Liam's upstairs, sulking about some city nonsense. Said something about you owing him an explanation." I grunted, peeling off my jacket and hanging it on the hook by the door, water pooling at my feet like guilty confessions. Explanation? Christ. What could I say? That at 45, I was still playing hide and seek with my own damn skin? That the man in the truck was just the latest in a string of midnight mistakes, each one a desperate grab at feeling alive in this godforsaken stretch of cornfields and crumbling barns? I'd left Columbus that morning after a shift at the auto shop, bones aching from wrenching engines that never broke as bad as I did. The bar had been a haze of neon and nostalgia. Springsteen on the jukebox, guys nursing beers and their wounds, and before I knew it, I was buying rounds for a stranger with eyes like faded denim. Upstairs, the floorboards creaked under Liam's pacing, a rhythm that echoed my pulse. He'd shown up a week ago, unannounced, fresh off a semester at Ohio State, backpack slung over one shoulder and that cocky grin masking whatever storm he was running from. "Needed a break from the grind, Uncle Z," he'd said, clapping me on the back like we were old war buddies. But I'd seen the shadows under his eyes, the way he scrolled through his phone late at night, thumb hovering over messages he never sent. City boy now, with his graphic tees and that faint scent of patchouli that screamed rebellion. My sister's boy, her only one, after Dad bailed and she poured everything into raising him alone. I'd been the fun uncle back then, sneaking him extra marshmallows at 4th of July barbecues, teaching him to skip stones across the creek. Now he was a man, and the air between us crackled with something I couldn't name. "Zach!" Clara's spoon clattered against the pot, pulling me back. She wiped her hands on her apron, those worry lines etched deep around her mouth like tributaries on a map. You look like hell warmed over. What's eating you? I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes. Just the drive. Ma. Traffic out of the city was a bitch. Lie number one. But lies were my specialty, 45 years of them, stacked like cordwood against the cold winters of denial. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, the cap twisting off with a hiss that sounded too much like surrender, and headed for the stairs. Liam's door was cracked, a sliver of yellow light spilling out like an invitation I wasn't sure I wanted. He was sprawled on the bed, knees drawn up, scrolling furiously on his phone. The room hadn't changed since he was 12. Posters of Metallica and faded Colts pennants curling at the edges, but he filled it differently now, all sharp angles and quiet intensity. Dark hair falling over his forehead, jaw set like he was chewing on glass. He didn't look up as I leaned against the frame, beer sweating in my hand. So, I started, voice rougher than I intended. You gonna pretend that didn't happen? Or we talking about it? His thumb stilled, and those green eyes, mirror images of his mother's, snapped to mine, hot and unyielding. Talking? You want to talk now? After I drag your ass out of that truck with some random dude's hand down your pants? Jesus. Uncle Zach. What the fuck? The words landed like punches, each one bruising deeper than the last. I took a swig, the cold bitterness sliding down easy, and stepped inside, kicking the door shut behind me. The room shrank, walls pressing in with the weight of his stare. It ain't what you think, I muttered, but even I didn't believe it. What was it, then? Loneliness? Desperation? Or just the bone-deep truth I'd been dodging since I was his age? Sneaking glances at the quarterback in the high school locker room, Liam sat up, tossing his phone aside, the mattress springs groaning in protest. Don't bullshit me. I saw you kissing him like it meant something. And then you just sit there, letting me play bouncer. His voice cracked on the last word, and damn if it didn't twist something in my gut. Kid had fire. Always had, but this was different. Hurt laced through the anger, raw and exposed. I sank onto the edge of the bed, the frame dipping under my weight, close enough to catch the faint tremor in his hands. Liam, listen. It's complicated. Your mom. The family. This town. You know how it is. Excuses. All of them flimsy as wet paper. But he leaned forward anyway, elbows on knees, close enough that I could see the freckles dusting his nose, the ones he'd hated as a boy. Complicated, he laughed, bitter and short. I'm gay, Uncle Z. Out since freshman year. Marched in the damn Pride parade last summer. And you think I don't get it? Hiding's a choice. Man. A shitty one. The air punched out of me. Gay. My nephew, Clara's golden boy, the one who'd charmed his way through Sunday school and straight-A report cards, was queer. Just like me. The revelation hung there, heavy as the storm outside, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. Not pitted, not judged, but known. I didn't know, I whispered, setting the beer on the nightstand, my hand itching to reach out, to bridge the gap yawning between us. Hell, I barely admitted it to myself. Liam's gaze softened, just a fraction, the fury ebbing like floodwaters after a cloudburst. Then start now. Tell me. All of it. And in that moment, with the rain drumming a relentless tattoo on the roof, I did. Words tumbled out, halting at first, then spilling like the creek after a thaw. The crushes on farmhands who'd never look twice. The nights I'd driven to Columbus for anonymous hookups in seedy motels. The guilt that gnawed at me every time I hugged Clara and saw her trusting eyes. Liam listened, chin propped on his fist, nodding like he was piecing together a puzzle he'd suspected all along. By the time I finished, the chili had gone cold downstairs, and the house was quiet save for the occasional drip from the eaves. "You're not alone anymore," he said finally, voice steady now, a lifeline tossed across the chasm. His hand landed on my shoulder, warm and sure, and something shifted, electric, unspoken. I nodded, throat tight, and for the first time, the weight lifted, just a little. But as I stood to leave, his fingers lingered, a ghost of a touch that sent heat coiling low in my belly. Wrong. My brain screamed. Family. But my body, it whispered possibilities I'd never dared voice. I pulled away gently, murmuring goodnight, and closed the door on the chaos brewing inside me. Little did I know, the storm was just getting started. The next morning dawned gray and grudging, the kind of Ohio autumn day where the mist clings to everything like regret. I was out in the barn by sunrise, fiddling with the ancient John Deere that Clara swore would outlast us all, its engine coughing like an old smoker. Grease blackened my nails, a familiar ache in my shoulders, but my mind was elsewhere, replaying Liam's touch, the way his eyes had held mine without flinching. Foolish thoughts, dangerous ones. He was blood, for Christ's sake. My sister's kid. The line between uncle and man blurred too easy in the quiet hours. Footsteps crunched on the hay-strewn floor, and there he was, coffee mug in hand, wearing my old flannel from high school, too big on his frame back then, now fitting like it was made for him. "Brought you this," he said, handing it over with a half-smile that didn't quite chase the shadows from his face. "Black, 2 sugars. Still your poison." I took it, fingers brushing his, and yeah, that spark again, quick as a struck match. "You remember that?" Dumb question. He'd always been observant, picking up on the little things while I blundered through life half-blind. "Some things stick." He leaned against a post, crossing his arms, the flannel gaping just enough to show the hollow of his throat. "Look, about last night. I didn't mean to blow up. It's just, seeing you like that, it hit close. Reminded me of my own fuck-ups." I sipped the coffee, scalding and perfect, buying time. "Your fuck-ups, kid? You're barely out of diapers." He snorted, pushing off the post to wander closer, kicking at a bale of straw. "Diapers? Try getting ghosted by your first boyfriend right before coming out to mom. Or the hookup that turned into a stalker situation sophomore year." His tone was light, but the pain lingered, etched in the tight line of his mouth. "Point is, I get the hiding. But it eats you alive, Uncle Z. Trust me." The barn felt smaller, the air thicker with the scent of damp earth and unspoken wants. I set the mug down on a workbench cluttered with wrenches and regret, wiping my hands on my jeans. "And what if it's too late? I'm not some college kid with a fresh start. This is my life, Clara. The farm, the garage. Coming out now, it's like dynamiting the foundation." Liam's eyes met mine, steady and searching. "Then let me help shore it up." He stepped closer, close enough that I could count the lashes framing those green depths, the faint scar on his chin from a skateboarding wipeout at 14. "We're family. That's what we do." Family. The word twisted like a knife, sweet and sharp. I wanted to pull him into a hug, the kind I'd given 100 times, platonic, safe. But my arms hung heavy, traitors to the code. Instead, I clapped him on the back, forcing a chuckle. All right, Gandhi. What's the plan? Parade float in the town square. He grinned. Real this time, dimples flashing like sunlight through clouds. Baby steps. Dinner in Columbus tonight? Neutral ground. My treat. There's this queer-friendly spot with killer burgers. I hesitated, the invitation dangling like bait on a hook. Columbus meant escape, anonymity in the city's hum, but with him, it meant stepping into the light, hand in hand with the one person who could burn me worst. Yeah, I said finally, voice gruff. Why the hell not? The drive into the city that evening was a study in contrasts. Liam blasting indie rock from his phone AUX, windows down to let the wind whip through, while I gripped the wheel like it was the only thing keeping me grounded. He sang along off-key, foot tapping the dash, and for stretches of highway lined with fading billboards, felt normal. Easy. Like the years hadn't carved canyons between us. The restaurant was tucked in the short north, all exposed brick and fairy lights strung like promises overhead. The Rusty Nail, Liam said as we slid into a booth, menus sticky with history. Best queer dive this side of the river. No judgments, just good food and better company. The waitress, a tattooed woman with a buzz cut and a wink, took our orders, double cheeseburgers, fries drowning in gravy, and a pitcher of whatever amber ale was on tap. Conversation flowed easy at first, his poli-sci classes, the protests he joined on campus, the tattoo on his wrist of a compass rose that pointed. He said, toward true north, whatever the fuck that is. I shared shop stories, the loyal customers who'd become lifelines, the '68 Mustang I'd restored last summer that purred like a dream. But as the pitcher emptied, the talk turned tides. So, he said, leaning forward, elbows on the scarred wood table, that guy in the truck. Was he anyone special? I traced the rim of my glass, condensation slick under my thumb. Nah. Just a moment. Happens sometimes. Understatement of the century. Moments like that were lifelines in a desert of solitude. Brief oases before the thirst returned threefold. Liam nodded, but his eyes narrowed, probing. You deserve more than moments, Uncle Z. Someone who sticks. Who sees you, the real you, grease and all. The words hung, laced with something deeper, and I felt it then, the pull, magnetic and merciless. His knee brushed mine under the table. Accidental maybe, but neither of us moved. Heat bloomed where we touched, a slow fire that licked up my thigh. And you, countered, voice low. Got someone back in the dorms waiting? He shrugged, but his gaze dropped to my mouth, lingering. Not anymore. Last guy. Couldn't handle the family baggage. Said I was too small-town complicated. The bitterness was there, but so was vulnerability, a crack in the armor. I reached across, covering his hand with mine, meant to be comforting, uncle to nephew. But the contact zinged, electric, and his fingers curled instinctively, holding on. Their loss, I murmured, and meant it. God, did I mean it? We left the nail with full bellies and fuller hearts, the night air crisp, carrying the distant hum of traffic and laughter from the galleries nearby. Liam looped his arm through mine as we walked to the truck, a casual gesture in the city that felt anything but. "Thanks for this," he said, head tipping onto my shoulder for a beat. "Feels good. Like coming home, home." The word lodged in my chest as I unlocked the door, helping him into the passenger seat. The drive back was quieter, the radio murmuring soft rock ballads that twisted the knife. His hand rested on the console, inches from mine, and twice I almost bridged the gap. "Wrong," the rational part of me chanted. But the heart, it roared back, louder. By the time we hit the farmhouse lights, the tension was a live wire. Clara was asleep, the house dark and welcoming. "Night, Uncle Z," Liam said at his door, but his voice was husky, eyes dark in the hallway shadows. "Night, kid." I turned away, pulse thundering, but his whisper stopped me cold. "Zach, not Uncle. Just my name, like a secret shared." I glanced back, and he was there, close, too close, his breath warm on my neck. Then, impulsive as youth, he rose on tiptoes and pressed a kiss to my cheek, lingering a heartbeat too long. Soft lips, stubble rasp, the scent of ale and him. I stumbled to my room, door clicking shut like a verdict. Stripping down to boxers, I collapsed on the bed, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped my fractures. What the hell was this? Infatuation? Gratitude? Or the forbidden fruit dangling sweetest because it was poison? Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with green eyes and rain-slick skin. And when I woke to the alarm, resolve hardened, keep distance. He's family. End of story. But stories, like storms, don't always heed our scripts. The week blurred into a rhythm of avoidance and accident. Me burying myself in the garage, coaxing rusted bolts from forgotten Fords while Liam roamed the fields with his sketchpad. Charcoal smudges on his fingers like war paint. Clara noticed the chill. Of course, mothers have a sixth sense for fractures. "You two fighting?" she'd ask over breakfast, pancakes steaming on mismatched plates, her eyes flicking between us like a referee. "Nah, Ma," I'd mutter, drowning mine in syrup thick as lies. Liam would chime in with a grin, all charm and deflection, just giving the old man space to miss me. But under the table, his foot would nudge mine, playful, testing, and I'd jerk away, heat rising like exhaust from a hot engine. Truth was, I missed him already. The kid had cracked me open, spilled my secrets into the light, and now I couldn't stuff them back in. Evenings, I'd find excuses to drive into town, nursing a Coke at the diner while he texted memes from the porch swing, inside jokes that felt too intimate. "Missed your ugly mug today," one read, with a winking emoji that twisted my gut. I'd reply with a trucker wave gif, safe, surface level. But alone in the cab, phone glowing in the dark, I'd reread them, heart pounding like I'd chugged bad coffee. Friday hit like a freight train, Clara's birthday barbecue, the whole extended clan rolling in from as far as Akron, pickups kicking up dust on the long drive. Aunts with Jell-O salads that wobbled like insecurities, uncles slapping backs and cracking open Millers, cousins chasing fireflies in the yard as dusk bled purple across the sky. Liam was in his element, charming the grandparents with tales of campus life, his laugh cutting through the chatter like a blade through butter. I kept to the grill, flipping burgers with tongs that felt like extensions of my clenched fists, sweat beading under my collar despite the chill. Every time he drifted close, refilling his plate, brushing my arm with a smells killer. Uncle Z. The air thickened, charged. Once, he leaned in to steal a pickle spear, mouth inches from my ear. Save me a dance later? Teasing. But his eyes held heat, promise or a threat. The party peaked around the bonfire, sparks spiraling up to join the stars. Willie Nelson crooning from a battered boombox. Folks paired off for two steps in the grass, boots shuffling in uneven circles. Clara tugged me onto the makeshift floor, her head on my shoulder, whispering, "Proud of you, baby brother, for sticking around." Her words stung sweet. She'd been my anchor through Dad's abandonment, Mom's early grave, the endless grind of making ends meet. What would she say if she knew the rot festering now? Liam watched from the sidelines, nursing a soda, his gaze a physical pull. When the song shifted to something slower, a George Strait ballad about lost loves, I found myself drifting his way, excuses dying on my tongue. "Dance?" I asked, gruff, extending a hand like it was a dare. He took it, palm calloused from his part-time barista gig, and we swayed awkward at first, me leading like I was born to it, him following with that fluid grace of youth. The firelight painted his face in golds and oranges, lashes casting shadows on cheeks flushed from the heat. "You're not bad at this," he murmured, breath ghosting my neck. Years of forcing Ma around the kitchen, but my voice was wrecked, throat dry as the embers. His free hand settled at my waist, tentative, then sure, fingers splaying warm through denim. The world narrowed to the press of bodies, the rustle of leaves overhead, the distant hoot of an owl mocking my resolve. Someone hooped, Cousin Eddie, 3 beers deep and the spell shattered. We pulled apart, laughing it off, but his touch lingered like a brand. Later, as the fire died to coals and the last trucks rumbled away, I caught him by the barn, silhouetted against the moon-washed fields. "Can't sleep?" I asked, lighting a smoke I didn't want, the flame flaring brief and bright. He turned, hands shoved in pockets, shoulders hunched against the night. Too much noise in my head, a beat, then, "About you." My lighter clicked shut, darkness swallowing us whole. "Liam, don't." He stepped closer, moonlight carving hollows under his eyes. "Don't uncle me tonight. Just talk to me. Like at the nail. Like we're not." He trailed off, gesture vague, encompassing the farm, the family, the invisible chains. I exhaled smoke, watching it curl away like wishes. We're what we are. Blood. That's the line, kid. Cross it, and everything burns. His laugh was soft, pained. Blood? That's biology, Zach. Not destiny. He closed the gap, hand rising to trace my jaw, thumb rough on stubble. I've wanted this since I figured out what this was. You strong, quiet, the one who never quit on me. Even when Mom dated that asshole who hated fairy boys, the confession hit like buckshot, scattering my defenses. Wanted me. The broken-down mechanic with grease under his nails and a heart full of rust. I caught his wrist, meant to stop him, but my grip turned anchoring instead. You don't know what you're saying. I'm old enough to be my first real shot? His voice cracked, eyes fierce. At something real? Lips met then, tentative as a question, his soft and seeking, mine yielding despite the scream in my skull. Salt and smoke, the tang of beer from the party, and underneath, something pure, terrifying. My free hand cupped his neck, pulling him closer, the kiss deepening into hunger, tongues tentative then bold. He tasted like home, like the forbidden harvest I'd starved for. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed, breaths mingling in the cool air. "Fuck," I whispered, guilt crashing in waves. "We can't." "Why?" Defiant, his fingers threading into my hair. "Because they say so? Or because you're scared?" "Both." "All of it." But fear lost to the fire in his eyes, and I kissed him again, harder, claiming, the barn wall rough against my back as he pressed in. Hands roamed, shirts rucked up, skin hot and alive under palms. His moans were quiet, swallowed by the night, but they echoed in my bones. We didn't go further. Not there. Not then. Sanity flickered back as headlights swept the drive. Clara home from dropping off kin. "Go," I urged, voice hoarse, straightening his collar with shaking hands. He nodded, lips swollen, eyes dazed, and slipped away like a shadow. I stood there long after, cigarette forgotten, ash crumbling to dust. What had I done? Unleashed a monster, or freed one? The stars wheeled overhead, indifferent witnesses, and for the first time, the farm felt vast, empty, a canvas for sins yet to come. Saturday brought penance in the form of chores, fencing the back pasture, the wire biting my gloves like accusations. Liam kept distance, breakfast scarfed in silence, then vanishing to the attic with his sketchpad. Clara chattered about church potluck, oblivious, her happiness a blade twisting deeper. By afternoon, the sky bruised purple, thunder rumbling distant threats. I found him in the loft, sprawled on a sleeping bag amid boxes of Christmas ornaments and forgotten toys, pencil flying over paper. "Drawing?" I asked from the ladder, voice neutral as I could manage. He glanced up, charcoal-streaked cheekbones sharp in the slanted light. "Yeah. You?" "Mostly." He held up the pad, a rough sketch of me at the grill, lines capturing the tension in my shoulders, the half-smile I'd worn like a mask. Flattery warred with wariness. "Talented kid." I climbed up, settling cross-legged on the dusty floor, close but not touching. "About last night." Regret flickered in his eyes, quick as heat lightning. "If you want to pretend." "I don't." The admission hung, bold and bare. "But we gotta be smart. Slow. This town's got eyes everywhere. And your mom." Clara's face flashed, trusting, tired. Betrayal would shatter her. Liam nodded, setting the pad aside, knees bumping mine. "Slow. I can do slow." But his hand found my thigh, squeeze light, promise heavy. We talked then, really talked about fears unspoken. His dread of becoming his absent dad, my terror of dying alone with secrets intact. Vulnerability wove us tighter, threads of shared pain stitching wounds. As rain pattered the roof, soft as secrets, he leaned in, kissing not with fire, but tenderness, lips brushing mine like a benediction. We lay back, arms entwined, his head on my chest, heartbeat sinking to the storm's lullaby. No rush, no ruin. Just us, in the quiet cradle of the loft, dreaming of tomorrows we might steal. But dreams, like rain, don't always nourish. They can flood. The affair bloomed in stolen pockets, Dawn runs along the creek where fingers laced under dew-kissed ferns. Midnight drives to forgotten backroads where kisses tasted of freedom and fear. Liam's laugh became my drug, low and genuine, chasing shadows from corners I'd long ignored. He'd tease me about my dad bod, hands mapping the soft give of my belly with reverence, not ridicule, whispering, "You're perfect, Zach." Every scar, every line, and God, I believed him in those fevered moments when the world shrank to the press of his body against mine. We were careful, texts coded as shop talk, meetups masked as errands. Clara stayed none the wiser, her days filled with quilting bees and volunteer shifts at the food bank, her nights with true crime podcasts that drowned out our ghosts. But guilt gnawed, a rat in the walls, especially when she'd hug me tight, saying, "You're glowing lately, brother. Whatever it is, hold on." If only she knew the spark came from her son, the boy she'd sacrifice sleep for, dreams for. Liam opened doors I'd bolted shut. One Sunday, he dragged me to a hidden gay bar on the outskirts of Columbus, the Back Door, a nondescript joint with rainbow flags tucked behind the dumpster. Inside, it was a revelation. Men like me, rough-edged and real, two-stepping to Dolly Parton covers. No pretense. We nursed whiskeys at the bar, his knee slotted between mine, and when a bearded daddy type bought us around, Liam's arm slung possessive over my shoulders. "Mine," he mouthed, grinning fierce, and I melted, 45 going on 22, alive in his claim. But paradise has serpents. Conflict slithered in mid-October, harvest moon fat and mocking overhead. We'd snuck to the old mill by the river, a ruin of sagging beams and whispering willows, blankets spread for a picnic of stolen pie and secrets. "I love you," he said, casual as breathing, feeding me a bite, chocolate smearing his thumb. I froze, fork midway, the words a thunderbolt to my core. "Love," echoed hollow, tasting like ash. Lust I could handle, fireworks, fleeting. But love, that was forever, a chain binding us to ruin. His face fell, fork clattering to the plate. "Yeah. Love. What's so scary about that? Everything." I pulled him close instead of answering, kissing away the doubt, bodies tangling urgent on the wool. Clothes shed like sins, skin slick under moonlight, his gasps my gospel. We moved together, slow at first, reverent, then frantic, chasing absolution in release. Afterward, spent and tangled, I traced the compass tattoo on his wrist. "It's not you," I murmured into his hair. "It's the fallout. If this blows, it won't." Defiant, he propped on elbow, eyes storm bright. "We're smarter than that. And even if, worth it. You're worth it." I wanted to believe, pulled him down for another kiss, softer now, sealing the vow. But doubt seeded, a weed in the garden. Betrayal came swift, courtesy of Cousin Eddie, Clara's nephew on her side, a loudmouth deputy with a badge bigger than his brain. He'd spotted us that night at the mill, or so he claimed later, looking cozy by the river. Nosy bastard, patrolling backroads for poachers when he should have been minding his own. By Monday, whispers snaked through town. Heard Zach's got a fancy man, some city twink corrupting the farm, laughter in the diner, side eyes at the pump. I shrugged it off. But Liam? He seethed, fists clenched at breakfast. "Let him talk. They don't know shit." Clara cornered me that afternoon in the laundry room, basket balanced on hip, her face thunderous. "What's this I hear about you and company?" Eddie says. Eddie's full of it. Ma, lie smooth as oil, but her eyes narrowed, seeing through. "Zachary James, don't you dare. I'm your sister, blood knows blood." She set the basket down, hands on hips, the stance that had cowed me since pigtails. "If it's true, fine. But dragging Liam into your mess? He's got a future. Dreams bigger than this dirt. Dragging." The word gutted me. "Liam's not." She cut me off. Voice steel. "Don't. I see how you look at him. Like he's the son. Not your nephew." Horror bloomed in her eyes. Realization dawning. "Oh God. Zach. Tell me I'm wrong." Silence damned me. She crumpled, hand to mouth, tears spilling silent. "My boy. How could you?" Guilt roared. Title. "Clara. Please. It's not. We didn't mean. Get out." Whispered, but final as a gavel. "Before you break us all." I fled to the barn, heart hammering, the air thick with hay and hypocrisy. Liam found me there hours later, rain lashing the doors like accusations. "She knows?" I choked out, face buried in hands. "Told me to go." He knelt before me, hands on knees, steady where I shattered. "Then we tell her everything. Together." "No." I grabbed his shirt, desperate. "You stay. Clean. I'll leave. Columbus full-time. The shop apartment. It's done." His slap cracked sharp, cheek stinging like truth. "Done? You coward. Running fixes nothing." Tears tracked his face, mixing with rain from his hair. "I love you. Damn it. Fight for us." I pulled him close, apologies dissolving in kisses, salt sour, frantic. We made love against the wall, rough and reclaiming, his nails raking my back like anchors. "Fight," he gasped, body arching. "Promise." I promise. I lied, because love's a liar too, whispering eternities in temporary tones. The blow-up came Tuesday, Clara summoning us to the kitchen like a court. Table cleared, coffee cold, her eyes red-rimmed but resolute. "Sit," she said, voice steady. Liam obeyed, hand finding mine under the table, squeeze fierce. I sat, spine straight, ready for the guillotine. She paced, apron twisted in fists. "I raised you both better than this. Family's sacred, not this sickness." The word landed like venom, old prejudices unearthed. Liam surged up, chair scraping. "Sickness? Mom, it's love. Real as yours and Dad's ever was." She whirled, face crumpling. "Love? You're my baby, Liam. He was your uncle protector, not paramour. To me, and you, Zach, my rock." "How? Why him?" Words failed, tangled in throat. Liam bridged, voice breaking. "Because he sees me. All of me. And I see him, the man, not the myth." He reached for her, but she recoiled, hand trembling. "Get your things," she said to me. "Final. Both of you. I need time. Exile." We packed in silence, duffel stuffed with essentials and echoes. Liam's sketchpad, my toolkit, Clara's tears soaking the porch as we loaded the truck. "Call me," she whispered to him. hugging fierce. Then nothing for me, door shut like a vault. The drive to Columbus was funeral slow. Radio off, rain mirroring our mood. We'll make it, Liam said, hand on my thigh, but doubt shadowed his eyes. My apartment was a shoebox above the garage, peeling paint, fridge humming like judgment. We collapsed on the futon, bodies seeking solace, but climax loomed, conflict cresting. That night, as he slept curled against me, phone buzzed Clara's number. Come home. Alone, the text read. We talk. Betrayal's blade, he'd go. I knew it, bone deep. Family pulled harder than lovers. Morning brought the fracture. I have to, he said over burnt toast, eyes pleading. Fix this. For her. For us. The lie cracked. Go, I said, voice ash. But don't come back. He left with a kiss. Tender, tearing, and the door clicked shut, echoing hollow. Alone, I shattered, sobs racking till dawn, the city indifferent outside. Climax brewed in the void. Days blurred, work numb, nights whiskey-soaked. Then, 2 weeks in, Eddie again, barstool confessor, spilling Clara's rage. She told me everything. Zach, your perversion with the boy. Sheriffs looking into it, family complaints, threats, legal shadows over taboo love. I drove home unbidden, pounding the door till she opened, face gaunt. You sicked the law on us? Her slap burned. On you. For breaking him. He came back shattered. Zach blames himself. Liam. Where? Panic clawed. Where is he? Gone. Back to school. Said to tell you. It's over. Lies or truth? I fled to campus. Heart in throat. Pounding dorm doors till a roommate cracked. Liam? Dropped out last week. Headed west. Something about art in Cali. Gone. Betrayed by blood. By love's fragile thread. I collapsed in the truck. Rain sheeting glass. World dissolving. Winter clamped down hard that year. Ohio's bite deeper than regret. Snow blanketing the farm like a shroud over fresh graves. I stayed in Columbus. The apartment a tomb of takeout boxes and half-empty bottles. The garage echoing with ghosts of engines I couldn't fix. Work kept me afloat. Customers with V8 heartaches. Loyal as dogs, but nights were wars. Replaying Liam's laugh. His touch. The way he'd arched under me like a bowstring drawn taut. Love, he'd said. What a cruel joke. Clara's silence was the worst, radio static where warmth used to be. I'd drive by the farmhouse some evenings, headlights cutting fog, catching glimpses of her silhouette in the window, rocking chair creaking to rhythms of resentment. Once, I stopped, gravel crunching under tires, and she stepped out, shotgun not raised but cradled like warning. Go home, Zach, she called, voice cracking across the yard. Ain't no home here anymore. I went, tail between legs, the betrayal festering. Had she poisoned him against me? Whispered filth till he fled. Or had he chosen, seen the truth of us, fragile as frost, and shattered it himself? Letters went unanswered, texts blue-ticked to oblivion. His socials went dark. Profile pic a blank avatar mocking my searches. Spring thawed the ground but not my heart. Mud sucking at boots as I trudged job sites, wrenching miracles from metal. A new guy started at the shop. Tyler, early 30s, broad-shouldered with a Texas drawl and eyes that lingered. "Heard you know your way round a carburetor," he'd say, handing tools, fingers brushing deliberate. Flirtation, easy as oil changes, and for a week, I leaned in dinners at the diner, his hand on my knee under the table, promises of normalcy. But normal tasted sour. One night, post-beer buzz, he kissed me in the alley behind the bar, rough, demanding, nothing like Liam's reverence. I pushed away, while rising. "Sorry, man. Not you," he shrugged, good-natured, but the rejection echoed my own failures. Deeper I sank, until May's heat wave baked the doubts crisp. A package arrived at the shop, brown paper. No return. Postmark San Francisco. Inside, his sketchpad. Pages filled with us. Charcoal whispers of tangled limbs. My face in repose. Captioned True North. Tucked in the back. A note. Couldn't stay broken. Healing out here. Forgive me? Forgive. The word ignited fury. Hot as blowtorches. I drove that night. Windows down. Wind whipping tears I wouldn't name. Crossing state lines in a blur of interstates and what-ifs. California shimmered distant. A mirage of reinvention. But I aimed for truth. San Francisco hit like a fever dream. Hills steep as heartaches. Fog rolling in like old lovers. I tracked him via mutuals. A coffee shop in the Castro where queer artists gathered. Steam rising from espresso-like sighs. There he was, behind the counter, apron dusted with flour, hair longer, tied back in a careless knot. Leaner, but the smile, God, that smile, flashed when he laughed at a patron's joke. I waited till closing, leaning on the lamppost across the street, heart jackhammering. He emerged, locking up, backpack slung low, and froze when our eyes met. Zach, disbelief, then wariness, arms crossing like shields. "Missed my north," I said, voice gravel from disuse, stepping into the pool of light. He glanced away, jaw tight. "How'd you?" Compass points true, weak, but it cracked his armor, a laugh bubbling reluctant. We walked, silent at first, streets alive with drag queens and dog walkers, the city pulse sinking our steps. At a park bench overlooking the bay, bridges strung with lights like fireflies, he broke. "Mom called after you left. Told me. Everything. The threats. Eddie stirring shit. Said it was her fault. For raising us too close. Blurring lines. Tears gleamed. Unchecked. I ran. Zach. Betrayed you to save face. Coward move. Betrayal's mirror." I pulled him close. No words. Just the harbor of arms. We both ran. But I'm here now. Chasing. He melted. Sobs muffled in my shirt. "I love you still. Always." Kiss followed. Salt and sea. Reaffirming what distance couldn't kill. We talked till dawn, his art gig. Crashing on a friend's couch. The hollow ache of absence. "Stay," he urged. Fingers laced. "Or take me back." But together. Temptation warred. Columbus meant roots. Clara's forgiveness pending. Here, fresh soil, but uprooted. "Gotta face the storm first," I said. "Mend what's mended," he nodded, understanding etching lines too young for his face. "Then go. But come back. Promise. I promise. This time, truth." Return was reckoning. Clara met me at the door. No gun, just weariness. Heard you went after my boy. Not question. Accusation laced soft. Yeah. I stepped in. Kitchen unchanged. Chili pot on stove. Ghosts in the corners. And I'd do it again. She sank to a chair, gesturing me opposite. Words poured, apologies raw. Love laid bare. Not sickness but salvation. He's my heart, Clara. Always was. But you're the beat. Tears hers now. Cathartic. I pushed him away to protect him. From you. From us. Pause. Hand over mine. But family's not blood alone. It's choice. Forgive me, always. Hug fierce. Mending fractures. Liam returned summer's end. Bus ticket stubbed. Duffel light. Clara enveloped him. Whispers and weeps. Then stepped back. Be happy. But careful. Town talks. We were dates in Columbus dives. Hands held under tables. Nights in my apartment forging futures. Love deepened. Not frantic but rooted. Conflicts yielding to compromise. Eddie slunk off. Threats evaporated in indifference. Climax crested Labor Day. Farm festival under harvest moon. Clara's booth. Pies golden. Liam sketching portraits for tips. Me manning the grill like old times. Whispers lingered, but stares softened. Curiosity yielding to acceptance. As fireworks burst overhead, colors painting the sky, he found me in the crowd, pulling me to dance, slow, unashamed. This, he murmured, forehead to mine, is unfolding right. Heart swelled. Whole. Betrayal scars faded. Humanistic grace in forgiveness, self, kin, love. Fall deepened into a tapestry of amber and rust. Leaves carpeting the drive like confetti from a hard-won parade. Life settled into grooves worn smooth by intention. Mornings with Clara over coffee. Her questions gentle now. Probing Liam's dreams without the edge of judgment. Afternoons at the shop, where Tyler clapped my back with a knowing grin. No hard feelings, just mates sharing the load. Liam split time between campus and the farm, his art blooming in night classes, sketches evolving from shadowed secrets to bold canvases of light. Our love, it matured, shedding the frantic husk for something sustainable, a slow burn that warmed without consuming. Weekends, we'd escape to the Hocking Hills, hiking trails where waterfalls roared approval, making love in tinted whispers under star-pricked skies. Remember the barn? He'd tease, tracing my collarbone with lazy fingers, body slotted perfect against mine. How could I forget? I pull him closer, kisses trailing fire. Best mistake I never regretted, but growth demands pruning, and conflict lingered in tendrils. Eddie's occasional glares at the gas station, town tongues wagging softer but persistent. One crisp November eve, it boiled over. A bar scuffle at the local VFW. Some redneck fossil slurring farm fucker loud enough for echoes. Liam waded in, fists flying till I hauled him back. Knuckles bloodied, eyes wild. Enough, I growled in the truck, ice pack pressed to his hand, adrenaline souring the air. You fight words with art, not bruises. He yanked away, pain lancing his face. Not from the hand, but deeper. Words like that, they cut. Zach. Remind me we're still freaks here. The drive home was thick with silence. Radio crooning Johnny Cash laments. At the apartment, he paced. shadow long across the floorboards. Maybe we leave. Cali or Chicago. Start clean. Panic flickered, roots pulling. And Clara? The shop? This is home. Home's where you are. He stopped, cupping my face, thumbs stroking whiskers. But if it's chains, no chains. Just fears, old as the hills. I kissed him fierce, backing him to the wall, hands roaming possessive. Here, I murmured against his throat. With you. We'll build it stronger. He yielded, moans my victory, bodies sinking in rhythm of reaffirmation, slow, deliberate, each thrust a vow. Afterward, tangled sheets, he whispered, promise you'll fight? With me, always, and meant it, bone deep. Humanism bloomed in small graces. Clara's pride flag in the window come June, subtle but defiant. Her invitation to Thanksgiving, Liam's hand in mine under the table, her squeeze acknowledging without words. Eddie even thawed beers at the diner. Gruff apology. Heard too much. Said worse. Water under. Not ally, but tolerant. Progress in grudging steps. Climax revisited. Transformed. Christmas Eve. Snow blanketing the farm like absolution. Clara's tree twinkled. Ornaments heavy with memory. Liam's lopsided star from kindergarten. My dog-eared stocking from boyhood. Dinner was feast and forgiveness. Turkey carved with care. Stories swapped like gifts. As carols played, Liam pulled me aside to the porch. Breath fogging air. Box small in his palm. Open, he urged. Eyes bright as the lights strung above. Inside, twin compass rings. Silver etched with coordinates, the mill, our origin. True north, he said, sliding one on my finger, is matching. Wherever, emotion choked, tears freezing on lashes. Marry me, not question, declaration. Yes, kiss sealed, snowflakes melting on skin. The wedding was quiet, backyard affair come spring. Clara officiating with a justice of the peace buddy. Wildflowers tying bouquets. Vows exchanged under the old oak. Rings glinting. In storms and sun. I choose you. Family sparse but fierce. Cousins nodding approval. Tyler toasting with raised glass. No fanfare. Just us raw. Real. Romantic in restraint. Years unfolded gentle. Liam's gallery show in Columbus. My pieces in his frames. Clara's grandkids via adoption dreams. Us uncles doting shameless. Betrayals faded to footnotes. Conflicts to character. Love, humanistic core. Proved not grand gestures but daily devotions. Coffee runs. Late night talks. Hands held in hospital waits when Clara's cancer whispered threats. Then receded. On our 10th. Back at the mill. Blankets spread. Pie half eaten. He leaned into me. Head on shoulder. Didn't mind how it unfolded. He murmured. Echoing the chaos that birthed us. Me neither. Sky wheeled stars. River sang lullabies. In America's heartland, two men wove legacy from longing, dramatic in depths, emotional in echoes, romantic in roots, humanistic in healing. And in that, we found grace.